Hey folks, it's Mike Reynolds. I'm with Ability Maine. I've been a writer there for about 15 years. It'll be 15 years next month. Well, give or take, it starts in, I started in 2009, so 15 years would be next month, 2024, which would be incredible because I've never had that many people, or I never had a job last that long, and I never thought this job would last this long. And it's been a really great fit, and I can't, I'm happy, and I love it here, and it's great. It's changed. I don't write as much. I'm not doing blog stuff. I'm doing things about, storytelling and trying to create community and talk about disability radical organizing and history and give a viewpoint that is queer, but not like in any way like sexual, but like just a different viewpoint. And not mainstream, not something you're gonna see in the newspapers. It's gonna challenge your belief system or your concepts or your beliefs. And sometimes you're super tired and your hometown has gone through a ridiculous unspeakable massacre, and you're still almost 2 months later still trying to figure out your bearing on things. It's 6 days solstice, that's kind of a big thing, and I'm hoping that I could do something on solstice to try and celebrate that, because there's been an awful lot of dark and Lewis in this fall, and anything we can do to make it brighter is, or see, at least get towards a better, brighter thing where it won't be dark in 15 minutes pretty much, and it'll be starting to get light again in about a week. So that's pretty awesome, and that's at least hopeful, I guess. And that was, there's a big sign at Lewiston that everybody's probably seen, the hopeful sign on Main Street, where Lewiston Radiator was. And fun fact, I was there, I was right at Lewiston Radiator when I had the explosion. I literally got knocked off my bike. It was terrifying. Almost as terrifying as the night of the shooting, but not nearly as terrifying. Although that was kind of gruesome in its own way, because I got to see the person dead. Anyway, let's not go there. It was terrifying, but anyway, hopeful. And trying to be hopeful, and trying to be mindful, and trying to just maybe give a voice to like how difficult it is. It's hard to find it's hard to find a lot of stuff. It takes forever to get prescriptions filled. You're waiting in line for things. You're waiting a lot longer for things to be delivered, things to be getting customer service stuff. And it's hard. You don't want to bring things up to people because especially, I've grown up in this community. I've lived in the Lewiston area my entire life, and I'm 50 years old. I've gone to Lewiston school since 3rd grade. I graduated from Lewiston. I left Lewiston to go to college, and all my friends did too. So it wasn't like I had, and when Lewiston was on lockdown, Orno was which is when I went to school, also locked down. And, looking at this from a real intersectional perspective, or intersectional, I guess is, or disciplinary perspective, just looking at the amount of time that has been taken off because of the shootings. And thank God, because this is not an easy thing for anybody. And if you're in school right now, schools are extremely competitive, and I can't imagine how you go to school. But, losing strong thing is real. I mean, the soccer team in Lewiston won the state championships. Well, they've always been considered one of the best in the world, in the nation, for several years now, and it's great that they won. But I was thinking about it, and IEPs are gonna have to be changed because there's been so much disruption in half-day schools and days off, and they're much needed, don't get me wrong, but also just in other ways, as the story plays out this week, the person who committed these awful crimes, the brain was sent to Boston, where it's going to be checked for CTE, I believe. And the New York Times, which did pretty horrible coverage during the actual shooting, but did a really good story about concussion grenades and concussions, and how I'm trying to summarize how a group of Army, I think it was a group of military people that were undercover options, were just sent to bombard ISIS, and they never saw actual combat, but they were sending these munitions so many times and under such duress, and so many of them at once, that it really did cause severe brain damage and probably CTE type symptoms. And the shooter, Robert Card, was a ballistics and grenade instructor, so he would have been shooting all these, tossing these grenades that are going off and blowing up right near him, which would shake their head, which would cause brain damage. It's weird because I actually knew Damir through BMX biking as a kid, and Damir ended up killing himself over an argument, and he had severe CTE from all the brain injuries he received on his bike from doing the jumping and stuff. And Billy, we had been that with him, we actually knew each other. But with and what New York Times was trying to postulate, and other people are too, is that being near a grenade and sending all those grenades and having them go off would have triggered some sort of brain injury, which I'm not a doctor, but he was hearing aids at the time, and he was having psychotic events. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks. the Saginaw County Sheriff's Department was investigated and found to be clear they were supposed to send them doing checking on him, and that came back this week, and they were cleared by the independent investigator. In federal news, the federal congressional delegation is asking the Army what they did or didn't do during the 2 months that after Robert Card was in the hospital. And they haven't gotten back yet. But the malaise that lingers is the truth and fluency. I mean, right around Thanksgiving, they took down all the makeshift memorials. They had a sign that says "Fix the mental health system," and that alone could be a single story time, but I won't go there because it is broken. I mean, you can't. It's almost impossible to find a decent provider, and if you're lucky enough to have them, you won't. I mean, I would fight to keep mine because my provider is great, and I'm not going to. And I absolutely adore my provider. I can't, and I'm lucky I have a really good advocacy ability, and I was, it wasn't easy. I mean, I'm not trying to say it was, and the problem is I think the people who create the systems to fix people, to help people who have mental illness, don't realize how hard it is for people with mental illness to deal with the systems that are as they are created. I mean, having to wait 3 months for an intake appointment is not ideal, and even if you're not in crisis, it can still create a crisis because you're still waiting for the unknown for so long. Even if you have all your refills and blah, 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 and all that stuff, it's really frustrating. And getting, we have kids who have IEPs changed because of a shooting. I mean, we have, it's just backlogs in transportation, backlogs getting things from mailed, backlogs in trying to find things such as automobile mechanics and the like. I mean, it just seems like, what was it? There was a story even on how there was so many crows around after the shootings, and they just were everywhere, and they still are everywhere. It's one of those things that is kind of bizarre, and it's very hard to even express how difficult this has been the last 6 weeks. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I think assault weapons need to be banned, or they need to be severely curtailed. I'm glad that in Maine, at least, yellow flag laws are being used much more than in the past. I believe there was like 38 times that they've been used in 3 weeks since the mass shootings on October 25th. Maybe that was a month later, but it was still quite a bit of times. It's only been used a handful of times before. the mass shooting, so that's really good. I mean, and it's just, I know that Medicare sign-ups are due soon. I think they're actually due like this week or next week if you want to start January 1st. I know that there's a lot of information that you can get about that. And I know that there's also some people on this, like, let me see what I can find you for. I know that Consumers for Affordable Health Care is the nonprofit that really has the information about how to do this, and that we and to get a hold of them for a resource. They're available at 800-965-7476, and they have really great help. They also run a website called coverme.gov, and that can be really difficult with people who have issues with Maine Care. If you're already on Maine Care, I don't know. I've been trying to call. I just haven't had the time to call to see if a Medicare Advantage program would affect benefits if you're on Maine Care or not. I don't know, to be honest, so I'm not going to talk about that at all. Although it might be something you might talk with them. I certainly am not going to talk about that because I don't know about it, and I'm not going to be responsible for anything like that right now in terms of information. In terms of other information I've seen, I saw a article where a woman was stopped by the people at United Spinal. United Spinal is an amazing nonprofit that works with people with spinal cord injuries and deformities to advocate and help them live in the community. They also publish New Ability magazine, which is a magazine for active wheelchair users. It's a great magazine. And they basically stopped this woman from traveling to Vermont to get herself to use the state's medically and dying law, and she is doing well, and that was also, I will link to that on the Ability Maine page. I know it's available on unitedspinal.org, but on their website, and that's pretty intense. I know there's been some rumblings of some sort of bus tour for the ADA next year, more disability rights, grassroots, but it's not coming anywhere near Maine. It's coming, I think, to New York City by what they, by their own preliminary documents. So I would love to go. I'd love to be a part of it, but it's 8 hours away, and I don't think New York City's exactly in the Northeast, but apparently these national people do. And I'm trying to think about what else I can express. Other than, like, it's been such a microcosm this last 6 weeks of just major things going on in the world. There was a Reddit post about, and I actually saw this, it actually happened on a local Lewiston Facebook group, where there have been so many people trying to sell t-shirts for Lewis and Strong logos. And a lot of them have been bootlegs, and if you are in Lewis and Rogueware on Westminster Street is doing great work. They made $200,000 for the victims. The victims got full tuition to Maine schools, and their families have full tuition. It could affect up to 80 to 100 people. That was announced recently. And Rogueware on Westminster Street is doing some great work. And there's another group of deaf people, sisters of something, that are also making beautiful work. But there's neo-Nazis literally posting bootleg images and selling them on local loose and pages, and it was caught on Reddit and posted on our Maine, on the subgroup. And it's disgusting, and it's like, just more proof that, scumbags are scumbags, no matter what they are, and they're always going to take advantage of any situation they can, for whatever means or whatever cost they can, which is sad, but true. And, I guess just part of the human condition, and, it has nothing, and, there are just so many vigils and concerts and benefits you can go to before you just feel like you're being exhausted and your emotions are spent and you're just worn out, and that's how it feels right now. And yes, it's helpful to see people, and I'm not in any way denouncing them. I mean, they need to happen, and they're going to continue, and it's great. It's just, it's hard. I mean, this entire process is hard. I mean, one can't imagine going through this in any realistic conception. I mean, there weren't school shootings when I was in college. I mean, I graduated college in 1998, 25 years ago. Columbine happened in 1999. I was working at my Fortune 500 job, and I can't imagine having kids. I can't imagine sending kids to a school where they would be put in lockdown. I can't imagine any of that. And, I mean, yesterday, I guess, all throughout the nation, including southern Maine, I don't know if it happened in Lewiston or not, tons of false threats were reported because it was the anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting this week. So that happened. And again, it's just more stress to put on people who just don't understand how hard it is to get through what has happened to Lewiston. And when I say Lewiston, I mean the entire state of Maine. Most of the people that were injured were not from Lewiston. They came to Lewiston because it was a cultural center. The bowling alley was, when I was a kid, people used to drive an hour to get to the bowling alley because it was the only accessible place that a large number of disabled people could be. And that's hard to, fathom that, this kind of horrible things would happen here. And, the deaf community has lost 4 huge people, and the people who died, people my friends knew very well, it's really hard. I mean, we're coming up on the holidays, and I'm definitely going to do something interesting on the solstice if I can, if I don't have like some major bodily issue. But anyway, that's my report from Lewiston, and I hope that you're doing well. And yeah, I guess I'm just trying to be a voice of what's going on as a person that survived the tragedy, and we will. And talk to you soon. And hope you have a great story time.